you guys know how much I respect and agree with Elon Musk when it comes to what he says, and I couldn't say it myself better, honestly. So he had a tweet last week that he says the rise in price inflation is caused by government overspending, which increases the amount of money faster than the increase in goods and services output. 100% agree. I talk about the deficit quite a bit. We just hit $35 trillion, right? Every 100 days, our deficit is going up by $1 trillion every 100 days, right? So we just broke 35, and we're going to be at 36 in 100 days. And we're going to be 37 in another 100 days. So I couldn't have said this better myself. And government overspending is absolutely killing the average American, right? Because they have not seen a dollar that they don't like. They take it and they spend it before they even take it. And then the reason for, and that's why we have the 35 trillion in federal deficit. Okay. I agree with Elon Musk. By the way, I don't know if any of you watched Trump and Elon Musk's spaces where it crashed, and Elon said that it was due to a DDoS attack. I don't know about that. I mean, I take his word. But the point is that, he has mentioned this on a couple of other interviews that he has done, that he wouldn't mind taking a role if Trump wins in the administration as a government efficiency expert. I mean, that would be amazing, right? And we know how efficiently he runs his companies. I mean, that would be wonderful. Yeah. I bet he does that for free as well, because I don't think he's doing it for the money. But somebody needs to be in charge of this stuff, right? They take the money they don't have, they spend. They take your tax dollars, they spend. They just keep spending. And what do? When they have a deficit, they print. Well, that's too many dollars chasing too few goods. That's the definition of inflation. Inflation was particularly bad during the COVID years. Yeah, because, it was a black swan event, and then they had to print $7-8 trillion, and that went into the economy. That automatically creates more inflation, as there was massive government spending, obviously, despite productivity plunging, as people were forced to stay home. This is further exacerbated by excess regulation, which prevents the market from solving an unmet need, housing in high demand areas, correct? And that's why we know what has happened. If you owned a house, it has doubled over the last 20, 25 years, 20 years, basically. Should it have? No, that's inflation right there. And I talk quite a bit about housing affordability in the past, and I probably will in the future. Occasionally, there's a monopolistic behavior by companies. Well, yeah, inflation helps companies, actually, because they can raise pricing, because they're the service provider. They're the manufacturer of the goods. They can raise pricing, but then how many times they lower pricing to where it used to be 2-3 years ago? They never do, right? They raise it 30%, they cut it 5% and make it look like, oh yeah, we're getting a bargain in whatever we're buying. We're not. My biggest example with this is, if I had $100 bill and went to Costco, which I love, amazing company, amazing management, 10 years ago, with my $100 bill 10 years ago, I would have bought 12 items because everything would be priced at $7.99-ish, $8.99-ish. Today, if I go to Costco with the same $100 bill, I'd be lucky to get out of there with 4 or 5 items, right? There is inflation for you. That's your buying power eroding continuously. And that's because of what's happening in Washington and what's happening. Monetary policy follows fiscal policy, and our fiscal policy is garbage. And, we have these wars. We send money all over the world. I mean, look, take care of your own house before you try to fix the rest of the world. Occasionally, the monopolistic behavior by companies, but this is relatively rare and usually only possible if those companies have gained control of their industry regulator. Yeah, I mean, he's talking a little bit about different issue here, but I do agree with him in general that inflation is definitely caused by government overspending, and which increases the amount of money faster than the increase in goods and services. I talked about this last week. There's a really great video that I put out. All this government spending, there has to be an ROI. There has to be a return on investment on the spending, right? So what is the return of investment? In the 30, 40, 50 years ago, when we spent $1 trillion, we got $4 trillion worth of economic output out of it, or GDP out of it. Okay, it was like 4-1. Going back to the World War, levels, time zones. That $1 trillion we spent to win the war created 10x return. Well, today, that $1 trillion we're spending, right, and creating the deficits, increasing into the deficits, is only creating about 56 cents. So that $1 is producing 56 cents worth of GDP. I mean, that's negative. Okay, it should be producing at least one, if not two or three or 4x, right? I mean, I'm not against borrowing money. I'm not against that at all. I'm not against debt, but debt used properly is wonderful. But debt used improperly, like we're doing in our government, is absolute disaster. Okay, and I'm going to keep talking about this until I'm blue in the face, and then you guys will probably get tired of hearing it. But then it is reality, and use debt. I'm not against using debt, but if you're going to use debt, even on the smallest level, as a credit card level, pay your bills at the end of the month, because if you carry balances, you're going to pay 40-50% interest, or if you're lucky, if your credit is amazing, maybe 25 to 30% interest. So use debt, but use it properly.